Grading standards for on-road tests for ordinary heavy and light motorcycle drivers. Highway Bureau, MOTC. Straight line balance riding. Deduct 32 points if the time to pass the straight line balance riding section is less than 7 seconds. Deduct 32 points if a wheel touches a lane marking line or a foot touches the ground. If a test taker fails the straight line balance riding test, they may retake it once at the site. Pedestrian crosswalk. Deduct 32 points for failing to stop or failing to yield to pedestrians when passing a pedestrian crosswalk. Deduct 32 points if the front wheel exceeds the stop line when stopping. Intersection. When passing through an intersection, drivers must proceed according to traffic signals. Deduct 32 points for running a red light. Deduct 32 points if the front wheel exceeds the stop line when stopping at a red light. To stage left turn. Deduct 32 points for failing to make a to-stage left turn as required or for turning directly. Deduct 16 points for failing to decelerate and enter the left turn waiting area as required and for failing to signal with the brake light. Deduct 16 points for failing to stop in the left turn waiting area as required. Lane change. Deduct 16 points for failing to drive on the designated route. Deduct 32 points for failing to signal when changing lanes. Deduct 16 points for failing to check the rearview mirror and turn head to check traffic conditions to the left and right before changing lanes. Right angle turn. Deduct 16 points if a wheel touches a lane marking line. Deduct 16 points for touching the ground with one or both feet while driving. Points may be deducted continuously. Stop and go. Deduct 32 points for failing to stop or if the front wheel exceeds the stop line when stopping. Deduct 16 points for failing to turn head to check traffic conditions to the left and right before starting. Deduct 32 points for failing to signal when turning. Railroad crossing. Deduct 32 points for failing to stop and check or for crossing the railroad crossing illegally. Deduct 32 points for stalling or stopping on the railroad crossing and if any part of the vehicle is within the railroad tie area. Deduct 32 points if the front wheel exceeds the stop line when stopping. Special attention for the entire on-road driving test. 1. A qualified safety helmet must be worn and the chin strap must be fastened properly. Deduct 16 points for failing to wear a safety helmet as required. 2. Deduct 16 points for failing to check the rearview mirror and turn head to check traffic conditions to the left and right when starting or changing lanes. Points may be deducted continuously. 3. Deduct 8 points for stalling during the test drive. Points may be deducted continuously. 4. Deduct 8 points for touching the ground with one foot during the test drive. Points may be deducted continuously, not applicable to the right angle turn test item. 5. Deduct 16 points for touching the ground with both feet during the test drive. Points may be deducted continuously, not applicable to the right angle turn test item. 6. Deduct 32 points for causing an accident or falling. 7. Deduct 16 points if a wheel touches a lane marking line. Points may be deducted continuously. 8. Deduct 16 points for failing to signal when turning. Points may be deducted continuously. 9. Deduct 16 points for failing to slow down when approaching a railroad crossing or before turning. Drivers should release the accelerator and lightly apply the brakes to decelerate. After seeing the railroad crossing sign or marking, the vehicle's speed should be reduced to below 15 km per hour. 10. Deduct 8 points for having one or both feet suspended in the air and not placed on the footrest while driving. Points may be deducted continuously. 11. Deduct 8 points for driving by accelerating and simultaneously gripping the brakes, which is considered abnormal vehicle operation. Points may be deducted continuously. 12. Deduct 32 points for failing to complete the test or missing any test item. Other technical operations: 1. Improper starting action. 2. Improper clutch operation. 3. Improper throttle control. 4. Improper braking. Deduct 2 points for each, and points may be deducted continuously for the same item. However, the total deduction for all items shall not exceed 18 points. Wish you success in your test.